Good morning, Newport. Welcome to our second show where I'm happy to report I'm still alive. This week's City Council meeting was long and dealt with some topics that will have a big impact on our city's finances and November's election. And some of the greatest news of the night, Newport is supporting State Assembly Bill 448, known as the OC Housing Trust, where all 34 cities in Orange County will work together to find a solution to homelessness. Here's Jen, who spoke at Tuesday's meeting on the bill.
The Association of California Cities has been thinking long and hard about homelessness and how we can address it in a meaningful way, with the intent of developing 2,700 units of permanent supportive housing. And the unique thing about permanent supportive housing is that it incorporates all of the services in a single site. So people that live in these homes have access to mental health services, behavioral health services. They have someone that's making sure they're taking their medicine. And in our research, these units have shown to be 75 to 95% effective.
Just to put people at ease, there's no cost to the city to participate in this, and this is a first for all 34 cities to work together.
It's moments like this that make me regain faith in our city council, even if they didn't have much to do with it besides saying, hey, we like that. We all love our country and the old red, white, and blue, and we're going to be showing that love by barbecuing, parading, and drinking light beer next Wednesday on the 4th of July. At this week's City Council meeting, police went over their strategy on how to keep the peace, or as they call it, normalize West Newport.
We've done a number of things this year. We've done some pre-4th of July operations, undercover operations, to buy these illegal skyrockets. We've made a handful of arrests and seized about 650 pounds of those fireworks this year.
So, if you're the kind of shady individual who buys bottle rockets off Craigslist, be careful. And if you're going to participate in the age-old Newport tradition of getting wasted on the peninsula, remember, don't wander around with an open container. The place is crawling with undercover cops.
When it starts to get dark, the fireworks kicking off on the beach. Now, we're going to be there, and we're going to be out there, and we're going to have a heavy enforcement presence to prevent that.
And I think historically, some folks in this room may know what 4th of July used to be like in 2010 and 2009, and if you were in your 20s, you loved it. It was about as good a deal as there was. But for property values, it wasn't that good. And for our residents and so on and so forth.
Consider yourself warned. In other good news, we've been getting a ton of positive feedback about our pilot episode. Thank you all for sharing our posts and telling a friend. It really helped get the word out. Please continue to tell your fellow Newporters about our show and to subscribe to our social media channels so we can all be informed in this November's election. We got an incredible write-up in Friday's Daily Pilot by Barbara Venezia, and you can find this on all our social media channels as well. But the true sign that we're gaining traction is the presence of our first troll commenter on YouTube, a true benchmark. Now for a more serious topic. The Finance Committee, composed of 3 council members and 4 citizens, was brought up again for the second meeting in a row. If you'll recall, we touched on it last episode when it came up in a motion. Councilman Scott Piotr wanted to reorganize how the Finance Committee is structured, barring council members from being on the board and instead having it comprised of 7 citizens. This was not taken well by the council.
I will be voting against consideration of a change in the finance structure at this time.
The citizens of Newport Beach can be assured that their finance committee, made up of 3 council members and 4 public members, are doing deep dives in the matters that relate to the city's finances.
6-1, the council voted down Piotr's motion that would have likely led to a committee of cronyism. Councilman Piotr wasn't on the committee himself yet. At our latest council meeting, he got what he wanted.
I know we were looking for some fresh blood on Finance Committee, but it's just not my cup of tea. I'd like to just propose a motion to make Mayor Pro Tem O'Neill the chair and to keep Councilwoman Dixon on. And if Councilman Piotr is so inclined, to have him replace my seat, and I will appoint a citizen.
Piotr gets what Piotr wants. Sometimes. Many are concerned about Piotr's financial influence on the city, as he's advocated for the selling of the old City Hall site where the Lido House resides instead of collecting rent from them. Also, he asked the city to refuse $480,000 in tax revenue, and he wants to speculate on the stock market with the city's pension funds. Director Riley Hayes will ask Councilman Jeff Herdman about the Finance Committee in an interview coming up shortly. But first, plovers?
There's one other issue. May I have a waiver of the time limit?
30 seconds? Can you do it in 30 seconds?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. My particular narrow issue is the western snowy plovers. Our area down by the wedge has a lot of new plovers. I have consulted with the main people for the eastern snowy plovers. Trash is against the interest of the plovers. So the plovers require the maintenance, the fruition of the well-being of the plovers requires that the seaweed be raked, can't just be cleaned off the beach.
Right, thank you for noting all those items. I saw our assistant city manager writing feverishly, so I know that we will respond.
Hey, we live in Newport Beach, and not all of our drama is some political scandal, except for, well, this next topic.
I've got a strong feeling that the community is in support of a measure like this as a reaction to the cost of the city hall and the bonds.
I think that if the voters had a say in this project early on and were able to establish or limit the amount of money that this council would have borrowed, that you wouldn't have had $150 million spent on this project.
I believe, at the end of the day, that the Newport Beach voters are very intelligent and very capable and are well aware of what projects they would like to support or not support when debt is incurred.
This is not what the community wants to see happen. There is no effect on the community for certificates of participation. They do not include the power to tax in order to pay off debt.
The most important topic of the night was a proposed amendment to the city's charter related to certificates of participation. This is big both fiscally and politically. First, what it means. The council voted to put this amendment on November's ballot. This would give Newport Beach citizens the power to vote on whether or not the city should spend money and incur debt on projects exceeding $50 million. This sounds like a great idea for us citizens until we take a deeper look at why this is happening right now. The reason the city council is putting this on the ballot now instead of years ago is because they want to use it as a political tool by bringing up the issue that got Team Newport elected 4 years ago, our expensive city hall. This measure, disguised as something that's good for the citizens, allows them to bring their golden issue back from the dead. It's like the weekend at Bernie's of campaign issues. Here they are parading around an old debt issue and pretending it still matters so that their party can win. This charter amendment will be dressed up with a slick, soundbite-worthy name like Taxpayer Protection Act or something, so that taxpayer organizations will get behind, funnel money into a PAC to promote it, and then use it as a campaign financing loophole. How? Because PACs can promote this measure with unlimited donation money. They can publicize the amendment as much as they want, sending out mailers with not only the amendment details, but with the faces of the council members who wrote the bill, creating the perfect marketable soundbite for Team Newport's re-election. My hat goes off to whichever mastermind came up with this plan, as it really is a good one. Except there was one little flaw. Which members get to say that they wrote the bill?
So I'd like to make the motion to approve staff's report on this and to put my own name on it as one of the authors, as having introduced this 2 years ago, and to allow friendly amendments for anyone else who would like to add their name to it. It's allowed to have up to 5 authors.
I definitely would like my name on it, but I'm just saying we can vote first and see who's voting for it, and that may help us decide whose
Sure,
name's on it.
I'm fine with that.
I'd put my name on it as well.
I will put my name on it.
But I'm sorry, only
Only
three council
three.
members maximum, otherwise you have a Brown
Brown
Act,
Act, yeah.
too many cooks in the...
Could there be a special meeting called by the mayor for those 4 council members to discuss?
I can remove my name, and the other 3, they all have an equal right. I thought it was 5, so my mistake in offering 5. So the 3 requested, that's fine. I would accept that.
Yeah, you should be on there. I'll take mine off.
take my name on. Kevin, go ahead.
So
All right, let's-
flip a coin between Duffy and Diane then?
All right, I'll do it. Okay. Let's
Just
vote.
for clarification, so that's Mayor Duffield and council members Muldoon and Piotr to write the direct argument for the measure?
Would that allow us to add a couple names down the road, just not council members?
No, because the priority is based on council members, being the legislative body has priority. So if you add other names to it, then you lose your legislative priority.
Never mind.
Okay. Ready to vote?
With council member Herdman voting no, the motion carries 6-1.
Hey, excuse me, I'd like to get my name added to the ballot measure too, please. Yikes. As it turns out, the 3 members who got their names on the amendment are the 3 members of Team Newport up for re-election. Coincidence? We'll ask Councilman Jeff Herdman in an upcoming interview. But first, it's really important that you don't fall for this rather smart political maneuvering. You see, most of us voters are rather uninformed. When we see a pretty postcard with faces of candidates who supposedly are giving power to the people, we accept that as a good candidate at face value without bothering to dig deep at what those candidates have done with their time in office. It's a very successful tactic, but what Team Newport doesn't realize is that our voter base, you, me, and our peers in the city, are going to be more informed this election than ever before.
And the only reason that this is coming to the council right this time is so that all of that money can be channeled into our community to try and impact the November 6th election. We know that. We're not stupid. You know, we know when you're playing politics with us. And maybe you need to start paying attention to the fact that the community is waking up. But our electorate is becoming very well informed. We understand what you're doing to us. And we will pay attention and we will vote on November 6th.
Now let's go to our director, Riley, who's sitting down with City Councilman Jeff Herdman.
Thank you, Alex. We're here with Jeff Herdman, City Council member since 2016. Thanks for joining us, Jeff.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
So it brings me great comfort to be able to clarify some things that have been happening with the city. Do you think there is a political machine on the council right now?
Yes, absolutely. You want me to elaborate a little?
Please.
Yeah, there definitely is. It goes back to 2014 when Team Newport was elected. Team Newport, though, over the last couple of years has morphed into different individuals within the council. For example, Diane Dixon was elected under the Team Newport ticket, but she very quickly separated herself from that moniker and truly acts independently, thinks independently, makes decisions independently, and is not influenced at all, at least from my perspective, by the Team Newport machine, if you will.
So the Team Newport now is?
They've been given the name of the Gang of Four, as opposed to Team Newport, consisting of 3 original Team Newport members in addition to one of the council members who was elected at the same time I was.
So you say there's definitely a political machine.
Yes.
Since you've been on the council, have you seen them pass things that you don't think are in line with what the city would want?
Yeah, absolutely. Meeting just this last Tuesday night, they were successful in approving an initiative that will go on the ballot at the same time that they're running for election. They'll attach themselves to that initiative and campaign for it. Okay, it's called the Taxpayer Protection Measure. Okay, if they attach themselves to that, any money that comes in from an independent expenditure committee or a PAC can be used to support their campaign. So it ended up being 3 of the original 4 Team Newport people, Muldoon and Piotr and Duffield.
The 3 that are up for...
They're going to have their signatures on it. Yeah, they're up for re-election. Yeah.
So the timing is...
Yeah, it's all
planned.
It's all planned. Absolutely. You asked me earlier about the machine. The machine is planning it. Who is actually on that machine? Who comprises that machine? I don't have any direct evidence, but I would hypothesize that it's Dave Ellis, Bob McCaffrey. You probably noticed that he was at the council meeting the other night, both the study session that had to do with this initiative and the meeting itself. I've lived in the city for 63 years, all right? Team Newport had 2 individuals that were elected, one who had lived in the city for 6 months. 6. Did not understand our city, the history of our city, the culture of our city, the values within our city. We had another one who had lived in the city less than 2 years.
Which 2 are those?
Kevin Muldoon and Scott Piotr. Scott Piotr's 6 months. I don't know what Piotr's motivation is. I honestly don't know. He lived in Irvine at one point in time. He served on a commission in Irvine. He ran unsuccessfully for city council in Irvine. I have been told that Scott's frame of reference is Irvine politics, and that he likes a lot of the practices and policies that Irvine has implemented when it comes to governance in that city, and he has tried to impose some of those policies and practices within Newport. But they just don't work in Newport. They don't match with our culture.
He seems to be very good at getting things that he wants.
Yeah, very good at getting, at being able to manipulate and get what he wants. You know, the irony behind all this is that as a lone guy out on the council, and this happens often with me, I don't know about any of this until the council meeting comes about and I see it on the agenda for the first time. All right?
So they just keep you out of the loop?
They totally keep me out of the loop, yes.
Because they're afraid you could probably stop them.
I can't stop them. I can't stop them. I'm one vote. The Gang of Four is in control right now. They are in complete control. I'm not going to influence them. I'm not going to change their minds. But what I have to say always represents majority opinion out there when it comes to constituents. Even if I don't agree with constituents, and sometimes I don't, I have a responsibility to make sure that my vote represents their opinion, not my own.
I think you're the only council member that we ever hear say that.
You know, I watched your first program and I heard Joy talk about that very issue. And I just really applaud her for that and truly hope that she gets elected. We'll have the possibility of forming a new majority on the council who are only interested in doing the best job we can for the people of Newport Beach. That's the bottom line. I know that's Joy's entire motivation, and I know it's Tim Stokes' entire motivation too.
Well, thanks so much for joining.
Absolutely. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk openly and candidly about all these issues.
Well, you know what? You are welcome anytime.
Great. Okay.
I think people want to hear it.
Yeah, they need to hear it.
Clear information all the time.
Yeah. Very good.
Probably have you on again.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
I appreciate it.
Back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Riley. Now, that was a heavy dose of dense information on today's show, but it's going to be very important come this November's election. This is our city, and we need to do what we can to protect it. So we'll talk more next week. Hold on, the tip line's ringing again. They always seem to call right at the end of the show. Good morning, Newport. Okay, you're telling me Councilman Scott Piotr wants to go to Vegas with the city's pension funds and bet them all on the Browns to win the Super Bowl? Okay, we'll look into it. For my crew, for my director, Riley Hayes, this is Alex Crawford saying, from the river jetties to Newport Coast, from the Back Bay to the Wedge, good morning, Newport.